Hey, you want to see some nice pictures?
MASH. Not exactly standard operating procedure.
Want to play a little doctor after we're finished? Have we got a fall for you?
We take you now to Kermit the Frog at the scene of another fast-breaking news story.
I'm not sure I'm ready to turn. Is this microphone on?
The ailing aerospace industry got a boost today as President Nixon committed the nation to a new phase of space exploration.
Introducing the LC-8, world's smallest electronic calculator by Sharp. Price tag to match, $345 complete.
I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse.
Of course you get one button color on Sears 19-inch color TV. But you also get something a lot more important. Come, I'll show you.
I rode my bicycle past your window last night.
Built into every 1972 Volkswagen is a network of sensors leading to one central socket.
This is a CBS News special report. The President in China. Banquet in the Great Hall.
I want one picture taken with Archie Bunker, my friend, and me.
You want me?
Yes. Now on three, okay? 1, 2, 3.
Apollo 16 blasted off today to explore the mountains of the moon. Astronauts John Young, Ken Mattingly, and Charles Duke described their trip phenomenal.
Quick, Batgirl, untie us before it's too late.
It's already too late. I've worked for you a long time, and I'm paid less than Robin.
Holy discontent.
Same job, same employer means equal pay for men and women.
Through the years, innovation has been an obsession with Peugeot.
Good evening. We have a mystery story out of Washington. 5 people have been arrested and charged with breaking into the headquarters of the Democratic National Committee in the middle of the night.
The Democratic National Committee is located in the Watergate office. The Summer Olympics, up close and personal, the ABC way.
Live at this moment from ABC headquarters, just outside the Olympic Village in Munich, West Germany. This is building number 31. At this moment, 8 or 9 terrified living human beings are being held prisoner.
But Spitz is going to go in. Spitz wins the gold medal. In second place.
So you can use either regular or unleaded gas.
To the rock.
Yes.
And now here's the star of the new Price is Right, Bob Barker.
The great hair color for that deep, bright, colorful hunk of a difference that brunettes deserve. For brunettes only.
You think my going through that kind of excitement might create a perspiration problem?
Take it easy.
Good evening. The fighting is over for American ground soldiers in Vietnam.
Nixon now. Nixon now. He's made the difference. He's shown us how.
Howdy, the quicker picker-upper. Strong, too.
This is about deception. This is about the White House. And this is how you stop it. With your vote.
Through 4 weeks of the 72 season, the Dolphins were undefeated.
Now there's discreet 4-channel sound. Introducing Series 44 from Panasonic.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.
Nothing makes better hot buttered popcorn than the Hamilton Beach Butter Up Popper. It's the original automatic self-buttering popper.
According to our CBS News estimate, President Nixon has been re-elected.
I can't believe I ate that whole thing.
Take 2 Alka-Seltzer.
His name was Jeremiah Johnson. They say he wanted to be a mountain man.
Robert Redford as Jeremiah Johnson.
Till the one day when the lady met this fellow, and they knew that it was much more than a hunt.
That's the way it is. Tuesday, December 26, 1972. This is Walter Cronkite, CBS News. Good night.
The girls are prettier
In the Bahamas,
songs are wittier,
in the Bahamas,
days are lazier,
in the Bahamas,
rhythm crazier,
in the Bahamas,
all day long. The sun, the sand, and the sea. Nights are strong, to put it romantically. It's better in the Bahamas. It's better in the Bahamas. If you're looking for a place you can play in the Bahamas, it's better in every way. The breeze is balmier in the Bahamas. Trees are palmier in the Bahamas. Fishing sportier in the Bahamas. Hotels resortier in the Bahamas. All day long. The sun, the sand, and the sea. Try it once. We guarantee you'll agree. It's better in the Bahamas. It's better in the Bahamas. By now you should know what we're trying to say. In the Bahamas it's better. In the Bahamas it's better. In the Bahamas it's better in every way.
The Live Stream Code and Rating Administration has rated this online event PG. All ages admitted. Please be kind and stay on topic.
Good evening and welcome to the Good Stuff Live. My name is Dave Sundstrom, and if you enjoy talking about music, movies, mostly TV from decades gone by, well, you found the right place. So, pretty darn exciting show tonight, but I do have a little bit of housekeeping that I need to get out of the way. Not that I want to get it out of the way. This is cool stuff. First off, I wanted to say thank you to my super fans. I've got, we've got a boatload of super fans there, and, I just can't, I have to say, I truly appreciate everyone's support. Those folks that are willing to pony up a little extra cash, a couple bucks a month to provide support for the channel. I just want to let everyone know, everyone that's on this list, how much I appreciate them for that. Folks like Kevin Davis, who his membership had lapsed and he resubscribed. Sometimes that's a difficult thing to keep track of. I appreciate that. And then the folks all the way over there on the right, Elf Dog 100, Pat McCormick, the Golden Rage of TV, Danny Staten, Mama Pink, Kevin Walder, Byron USA, Tracy Roth Myers, Tom Gladstone, Retro Serial, Ian, our friend over at the Retro Serial YouTube channel, John Collins, Superplex, and James Mitchell. Those folks have been members for going on a year now. So, and quite frankly, a lot of folks, even in the middle column, have been as well. So, again, thank you to everyone that is on this list. I truly appreciate you. I also need to say thank you to my executive producer this evening, the one and only Tracy Roth Myers. Thank you so much for your additional support. You get executive producer status when you drop a super chat into the chat. In this case, Tracy dropped a super sticker, but she dropped that prior to the start of the live stream. And so the best way I can think of thanking those individuals when they do that is to make them executive producers. So Tracy, thank you so much for that additional level of support. All right, so here we are. Tonight we are talking about MASH. What a great television show. It certainly, it's in my top 10 list of TV shows of all time. I have a fond spot, I'm very fond of the first 3 seasons and the entire run of the program. And we'll talk a lot more about that in just a little bit. But what I want to do first is bring on my guest, and we're going to visit, and then later on in the live stream I'll make sure to answer any questions. I've got my moderator on duty. He's keeping track of questions that we can answer later on. So please go ahead and feel free to put them into the chat, but know that I'm not going to get to them until probably 30-40 minutes from now, somewhere around there. And one more thing, just to kind of tease what we're doing tonight, we are giving away a subscription, an annual subscription to Remind Magazine. One of my all-time favorite magazines. Remind Magazine is the paper equivalent of my channel, or my channel is the equivalent of that, the digital equivalent of Remind Magazine. We think the same. The articles in Remind Magazine are similar in theme and topic to what you find on my channel. So I'm really excited to be able to give away an annual subscription to that. We'll do that later on this evening as well. All right. So without any further delay, here he is. My friend Scott Barnes is with us tonight. Scott, how the heck are you?
I'm doing great. How about you, Dave?
Really, really good. It's always a special treat for me when you join, and I've mentioned this before in prior live streams, but you literally are one of the individuals that helped me get the channel up and running early on. Scott and I would make videos where we would, there'd be a topic to discuss, but we would also test out all sorts of crazy flavors of soda. And I have such fond memories of that, making those videos. And so, anyway, great to have you with me here tonight, Scott.
Hey, and I appreciate it. And just for you, I wore the shirt.
Oh, nice. That's a great looking shirt you got there. Well done. I wish I could say the same, but mine's plain black tonight. I should have put on the Good Stuff shirt. What was I thinking? That's poor form on my part. All right, so MASH. That's a show you have a lot of memories about as well, right?
Absolutely. It was a staple almost from the inception, and then in reruns, right? Constantly watching it as often as I could, and instilled that in my kids to watch it. My daughter still watches it. She loves it. So shout out to Emily if she's out there. Not sure if
Emily.
she is. She may be. I don't know if she's on or not.
I'm just hoping she passes it on down to the next generation.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And then you and I both worked for a gentleman who was a MASH fanatic.
Yeah, I think we won't say his full name, but Greg, if you ever by chance catch this video, which I don't think you will, but if you ever do, yes, that was one of you're a man of many great traits, but the fact that you liked MASH, that was one of your best traits.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I remember many a conversation in his office about MASH, and he definitely, I believe he had the entire series on. I don't know if he did the VHS and then the DVD, but I know that he had the entire series.
Yeah, and having it on DVD, you don't get the commercial edit, the shortened version. So there were some things that you didn't always see on TV. So.
Exactly. They get, as they start trying to squeeze in more commercials, those programs just get chopped up. Not just MASH, but it's really a shame when they start excising really important scenes. You let someone decide what's important, what's not to leave in, and just kind of a shame. I know my brother Steve, who has a YouTube channel as well, he he has them all digitally, and they are in the process right now, I believe, of revisiting again. It's like every 5 or so years, his wife is a big Friends fan. I know they go through the Friends seasons, and I know that when it's his turn, MASH is every half decade or so they go through the seasons of MASH. Let me ask you this, Scott. Were you a early seasons MASH guy or a later seasons MASH guy, or was it all MASH?
You know what? I liked it all. I mean, I was a Frank Burns fan. I thought, and as I got older, I understood and kind of agreed with Larry Linville and why he left, and that his character had kind of hit the stride. But I loved Charles Emerson Winchester. I loved Wayne Rogers, but I also loved Winchester as well. So there was some good stuff as the cast and ensemble changed.
Yeah.
I think it kept the show fresh, and for me, it kept it exciting. So I really did enjoy it. I don't have a preference one over the other.
Yeah. So I'll share my. I like all the entire season, or all seasons, right? The entire run of the series. But I kind of have a soft spot for those earlier seasons. They felt a little more zany to me, a little more wacky, a little more comedy, a little less drama. As the show matured, I think they started to feel a responsibility to tell some heavier stories from time to time, particularly those ones where Alan Alda's character Hawkeye would be writing to it's a trivia question tonight, so I don't want to give it up, but writing to someone, there was those episodes could be a little bit heavy, but boy, oh boy, was it not just the main cast, right? Which another trivia question that we'll have later on is around the changing cast, because there were quite a few sizable changes. You would think that a show that ran for as many seasons as it did, there'd be a lot of constancy, but there isn't as much as you might think between, if you look at who was the regulars in season 1 versus season 11. So,
yeah, and even with like McLean Stevenson leaving and Colonel Potter coming in, right? And I'm tossing back and forth between actors and characters, but I think you were right. It was a little more zany with McLean Stevenson's character versus Colonel Potter there. He was a little more straightforward, but that was the Harry Morgan. Thank you. I'm looking at the chat. Thank you, Emily. But it was great. And then, the same with like Jamie Farr replacing Gary Berghoff and all of those things, not replacing, but, taking over as company clerk, which, by the way, I was the company clerk in the Army for about 7 years.
So you have some experience. What would you, if you had to say you were more like Radar or more like Klinger, which one would it be?
I'll plead the fifth. I tended to be like Klinger in being able to wheel and deal, but I hope I was kind of more mellow and laid back like Radar was.
Yeah. Boy, talk about two wonderful characters. And I just published a video the other day about Gary Berghoff and his departure from the show, and the question about whether there was hard feelings with the cast, if any. There was rumors. I did a Gary Berghoff video 2-3 years ago, and I kept getting comments like, well, no one liked that little twerp anyway, all these kind of things. And I found that difficult to believe. And it sounds to me like there might have been a little bit of truth to that, but there was someone in the comment section who actually said that their father worked on set in MASH and that Gary was actually beloved by the cast members, but there was actually where Gary could be difficult from time to time was with the the writers and the directors because he was so demanding and so exacting in terms of what he was trying to get out of his performance and the performances of those that were working with him. So yeah, and Jamie Farr, what a great actor. I was really sad, and we'll talk about it in a bit, but I was really, matter of fact, I'm not even going to go there. I'm going to say the comment, and then let's not go there. I'll watch it. We'll watch a video, and then we'll go there. But I was really sad that After MASH wasn't the hit that I'd hoped it would be.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, we're going to play a quick clip, Memories of MASH video, just a couple of minutes, and then we'll talk some more about our memories of MASH. Beginning in 1972, MASH ran for 11 seasons before ending with a series finale that was one of the most watched television programs of all time. And while I did watch MASH when it was on CBS's primetime lineup, it was during its syndicated run here in Salt Lake City that I really grew to love the show, which would air 2 times a day on KSL television, once in the evening and then later on at night. In fact, at 10 p.m. KSL would broadcast this very important message on the screen. Parents, a voice would say, "It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?" Of course, my folks always did. We weren't allowed to stay out late in our home. And then the KSL Eyewitness News would start. Norse, Welty, and James were the anchors. These guys were iconic in the 70s and 80s in Utah. And as part of their sign-off, they would say, "Stay tuned for MASH." And then behind them, MASH would start and slowly transition to a full screen. At least that's how I remember it happening. Back then, CBS didn't have a viable late-night talk show to compete with Carson, so KSL, which was our local CBS affiliate, relied on MASH to compete with the then king of late-night comedy. And compete it did, at least in our home. As we grew older and became teenagers, bedtimes were abolished, but unless it was a weekend, my folks had a fairly hard and fast rule that MASH was pretty much the last thing that any of us were allowed to watch on television before retiring to our bedrooms. And because of that rule, well, pretty much everyone in our home grew to love this show. Of course, MASH did not start on the small screen. It was a movie directed by Robert Altman, and it was one of the biggest films of the early 70s for 20th Century Fox. That said, even though the movie was a big hit, the success of the television show dwarfed that film. As I think back, that cast really was amazing. This show truly was Alan Alda's shining moment, but everyone, and I do mean everyone, who made up the show's central cast of characters had reason to be proud. Yeah, for sure. I think they all did have, it was just there was, I think was it 10? No, 14 Emmys that they won. They were nominated for over 100 Emmys between the creative team, the writers and the directors, and then the actors. Oh, they were nominated for over 100 Emmys. They got 14 of them over the course of the show's run. Just really great. Do you have a favorite, Scott? A favorite character?
Oh, favorite character. Wow. I thought you were going to say favorite episode.
I'll ask you that next.
You know what? Because I felt for him and I kind of felt like I understood what was going on. Radar was probably my favorite character in all of that. He had a kind heart. He genuinely cared for people, and his being naive was heartwarming. It wasn't, and yes, they made fun of it on occasion, but it was never, they didn't make fun of him. They always, and so I found his character to be probably the one I related to the most, or my favorite.
Love it. Yeah. Here's the weird thing for me. Even though I love the first 3 seasons, I love it all. I have to throw that in there, but the first 3 seasons, if I had to pick, I'd always go to the first 3 seasons. And those are the ones with Trapper, right? But I really like Mike Farrell's BJ character. Yeah. I thought BJ was just maybe the same thing. It's like he was a nice guy. He was a nicer guy than Wayne Rogers' Trapper was. He could be a voice of reason, and I appreciated that much more so actually than Alan Alda's Benjamin Hawkeye Pierce character, which was, he could be. here's the thing about Hawkeye, and I'm a big Alan Alda fan. I know some folks aren't, but here's the thing about Hawkeye. He could be funny, but then the next moment it's like there's a switch being flipped, and it was maudlin, and he was preachy, and there were those moments that I didn't love as much, and I think that's why over the years I started to gravitate towards the character of BJ and Mike Farrell. It just it was a great add to the cast, and Mike Farrell knocked it out of the park. And what he was asked to do, which was a tough one. Same with Harry Morgan, was when he had to replace Henry Blake, when we could every single one of them. Mike Farrell was replacing Wayne Rogers, David Ogden Stiers was replacing Larry Linville. Holy cow! Each time you thought to yourself, they can't do it. The show is going to jump the shark, and the new character won't be as beloved and appreciated. And then they would write great stories around all of the characters.
Yeah, and I think that was great, because I know that some of the characters got involved in writing and directing as the show went on, but it was nice to see them take care to make sure that each character was built up and everybody had depth to their characters.
Yeah.
So rather than having it just be, maybe Alan Alda or Mike Farrell, and yes, they had probably the lion's share of the camera time and things, but the other characters were not background characters by any stretch.
No, and they took characters that you would think, particularly going back to the first 3 seasons or so, might be a little bit caricaturish, a little bit cartoonish, like Hot Lips, Margaret Houlihan. And over the course of those 11 seasons, they gave her depth. They gave her more dignity as a person. And they wrote some really wonderful stories around her as well. Big Loretta Swit fan.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. So I've got another quick video that I want to share, which was all about post-MASH. But before we go there, I do want to ask you, what was your favorite episode?
I think I had 2 favorite episodes.
Okay, let's hear them.
One was the point of view episode, right, where the camera was the character, or you as the viewer were the person being treated, and I think they actually won an Emmy for that episode. I just thought that was so creative and super cool. The other one, and I honestly don't remember the entire plot line behind the episode, but at the end, when one of the injured actually dies, they walk off together, and there's just this train of Koreans and Chinese and Americans and you name it. They're all just walking off into the distance, not knowing, they know they're dead, but they don't know what's in store for them.
Right.
I thought both of those episodes just kind of stuck with me and have, I always look forward to, is that one going to be on? When is that one going to show up? Because I always want to watch it.
Yeah. So it's not a favorite episode, but a memorable episode for me, of course, is the one where Henry Blake heads home.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously it's memorable for the final season or scene in that episode where no one in the cast knew they were going to film it until they filmed it. The only one I think that had any sort of insight was Gary Berghoff, who they prepped him for it. But otherwise, I think it was kind of almost like what we saw on screen was everybody's actual reaction to the news.
Yeah. And I agree with you that whether it's urban legend or not, I had heard the exact same thing. So,
yeah. And then I would go, not any one particular episode, but anything with Colonel Flagg in it. Flagg's my man. I love that dude. You can sniff out the commies wherever they might be.
And how the actor could play that so straight-faced without just constantly laughing out loud. It would just, he was a memorable character.
Yeah. Yep. All right, let's play this video and we'll talk some more in just a minute.
Attention all personnel, the war is over. MASH is going home next.
You call me a taxi, I'll be on my way.
Share their touching goodbyes and their new beginnings.
I'll never forget you.
MASH, the end of an era, a 2.5-hour special.
I'll miss you.
The laughs and tears, the final farewells next. That is all.
When MASH finally came to an end in 1983, more than 106 million people watched its finale, Goodbye, Farewell, and Amen. The episode was so highly anticipated that 30-second commercials sold for almost $500,000, more than some of the slots for the Super Bowl that year. And because CBS wasn't all that happy about losing a consistent year-after-year ratings winner like MASH, the suits at the Tiffany Network requested a new series after MASH that followed the post-war adventures of Potter, Klinger, and Father Mulcahy. And while the show started off with a bang and had fabulous ratings here in the United States, script problems and constant character changes led to a rather steep decline in viewership, and the show was canceled by the network after just a couple of seasons. Another attempt at recapturing the magic of MASH featured the return of beloved character Radar O'Reilly in a show called Walter. However, the pilot was not well received by the network. And while it did finally air in some parts of the United States, most folks don't even know that this show existed. One final thing. Shortly after MASH ended, the Smithsonian Institute opened up a wildly popular exhibit about the show, which ran on and off for a couple of years. Like I said, this thing was so popular that lines to see it, well, they felt more like an attraction at Disneyland. Sometimes folks would wait for as long as a couple of hours. And then, because there were so many tourists that wanted to view it, once inside the exhibit, people were often only allowed to stick around for 10 to 15 minutes. Now it's your turn. Please share your memories in the comments section, and while you're at it, I'd love a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, and I would be absolutely honored if you would consider subscribing to my channel. I talk about music, movies, and television, mostly from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, the good stuff. But most importantly, and as always, thank you so much for watching. All right, so
Please tell me you're going to talk about the Gary Berghoff or the Radar Wonder Woman tie-in with that closing shot of Gary Berghoff on the drums. We have to talk about Gary.
Well,
Berghoff.
so I know what you're talking about, but do you want to share with the group? Some folks know, and I'm sure some folks don't. What's the connection?
So Gary Berghoff was actually a drummer, right? And he and Linda were actually in a band together called The Relatives, right? Is that what
I don't remember the name of the band. I just knew that they were in a band together.
Yeah, they were in a band together. She was the lead singer and he was the drummer for that band. And then he appeared on an episode of Wonder Woman where, she saves him a couple of times, as is her wont to do as Wonder Woman. But
that's right.
Yeah, I saw the drums and I'm like, oh, we have to talk about that.
Yeah, for sure. And quite frankly, anytime we can talk about Linda Carter, it's all right by me. She is a wonder, that Wonder Woman. So let's talk about After MASH. Did you watch any of After MASH?
Never saw an episode. I knew it was coming to TV, but no. Have never seen an episode.
Yeah. So I think I would have watched it. I think I would have, but I was serving my LDS Mormon mission when that show was running on network TV prime time on CBS. And because of that, I didn't get a chance to watch much television over there in Spain and was doing other things. And as such, the thing that's been disappointing to me is you really can't find After MASH anywhere. It's you can't buy it on DVD. You can buy some bootleg DVDs, but it's not on any of the streaming services. Nothing, and it's just a disappointment to me that you can't really watch After MASH the way that you want to watch an episode of MASH. It's everywhere. It's on Hulu. It's on ETV. It's you can go buy the DVDs. You can buy the digital copies of the show. But after MASH, yeah, Kevin Davis is just pointing out that it's on YouTube, but those are the bootlegs. There's nothing official out there. I'd love to see a remastered version of those 2 seasons of After MASH. I get it. It's not MASH. It's not as great, as wonderful as MASH was, but it still was a nice coda, a nice ending, and it's really hard to go back and watch those episodes. And Colonel Flagg was in one of those episodes too.
Was he?
So I hear. Well, I've seen the clip, but it was so grainy and horrible that I really couldn't enjoy it. I could not enjoy it. What about Walter? Did you watch that? It's on YouTube. Seen that show?
No, in fact, I didn't know there was a spin-off until I watched your video the other day.
Yeah. So Victoria Jackson's in it. That's kind of neat.
Mm-hmm.
So one of her first roles, but it is a misfire in every single way. You know, it's one of those shows. You ever watch a show where it's a sequel to something or a spin-off for something from something, and the character that is being spun off doesn't act anything like the character that was on the original show? That was one of the for me, one of the real problems with Walter, and I'm not quite sure why Gary Berghoff agreed to do that, but it's a curiosity, and it's out here on YouTube if anybody has a desire to see it. CBS knew that there was a turkey. They had the pilot. They aired it one time only in part of the nation. It didn't even air in the entire U.S., but part of the nation got it, and someone recorded it, and it's on YouTube now. So there you go.
I know my parents did try and watch Trapper John M.D.
Yeah.
But that was actually running concurrent, wasn't it? Or it felt like it was.
I don't know if it was running concurrent, but it was such a different show, right? It was such a different show than MASH because it was a drama.
Yeah.
And did you ever watch any of those episodes? Pernell Roberts played Trapper John on that show. And to me, I didn't catch much of it. I wanted to at least feel like there were some echoes of the Wayne Rogers character, and I didn't really feel like his performance really reminded me all that much of what I saw in MASH with Trapper John there.
Well, and I think that was on purpose, right? Because there would have been some need to pay royalties, if you will.
Perhaps.
And so I can't remember where I read this, but it's been a long time, so take it for what it's worth. I think they've said that the TV show was based off of the movie to get away from having to pay royalties.
Yes. I think you're absolutely right. And let me scroll back up here. John H. points out that you are correct, Scott. Trapper John M.D. premiered in 1979 when MASH was starting season 8. So yes. And Trapper John only speaks about the war once, and that's in episode 1 of the first season. So
I guess that was to try and draw people in, but
Yeah. All right. So MASH. How would you rank it out? Is it in your top 10?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely in my top 10.
I was trying to think and I know lists and they are what they are, and mine change anyway day to day, but I have a constant list of my top 3 shows, which is Batman, Star Trek, and Andy Griffith. And then there's 4 and 5, which they change every now and again. So MASH could potentially be in my top 5. It's definitely in my top 10.
Yeah, it's probably in my top 5, right up there with Mission Impossible and Columbo. So.
Oh yeah, I knew you'd mention Columbo. I knew if we talked long enough, you'd bring up Peter Falk.
Of course.
What a great show. Yeah, what a great show. All right, so enough MASH talk. We're going to give away a subscription to Remind Magazine in just a moment. But first, I want to deviate from our schedule a little bit, Scott. I want to do a couple of things. I have a new segment that I've been doing recently called A Few of My Favorite Things. That's where I get to ask whoever's on live stream with me to tell me about their favorite things. So I know one of your favorite things is woodworking. As a matter of fact, I'll show this to everybody, your most recent project. So I see a box there, right? Now, if I click on that second image, is that what really will kind of help us identify what's going on here with the box?
Yeah, so I built this box for my son-in-law, Jeremy, to hold his Magic the Gathering cards. And
Nice.
so I built that. It holds the deck perfectly. And then and this is where I'm going to fade because I'm not a Magic fan. But imprinted on there the logo. So on the inside of the lid, you get the logo of the tribe. See, I'm going to speak out of turn. Somebody in the comments is going to have to correct me, but which group he's affiliated with. But that was a birthday present for him just recently. So
very nice. That's very nice. You're a talented man, Mr. Barnes. Talented man. All right, so now I get to ask you questions. I have prepped Scott, so he knows these questions are coming. It's not a surprise. Scott, what is your favorite nostalgic television show and why?
So you would think I would say Columbo, but I'm actually going to say Mission Impossible.
Nice.
And the reason that I loved Mission Impossible is, yes, it led up to a huge story franchise and all of that, but it was just so new, right? For the time, it was like cutting edge, and it was super cool with being able to outthink the adversary. And I think the best part of all of it is that they gaslight people something fierce, and that's where I learned the term gaslighting is from that. My parents told me that was what was going on, and I had never heard that term before. But yeah, I am a huge Mission Impossible TV show fan. I'm also a fan of the movies, but from the music to the acting to the characters to everything, it's my number one.
Yeah, it's a great TV show, right? I mean, the cast, again, another phenomenal cast. I love Martin Landau, Barbara Bain, just Greg Morris, and then of course Jim Phelps. What's his name? I'm drawing a blank on his name. What's his name? Peter Graves. Peter Graves.
Peter Graves, yeah.
Brother of James Arness.
Yes.
Here's my gripe, and it has nothing to do with the TV show, but I'm going to gripe since we're talking about Mission Impossible. Were you as bugged as I was that in the first Mission Impossible movie, Jim Phelps turned into the bad guy?
Yes, that really bothered me, and I was not a fan of them taking it down that road. But I think they learned from it and repented, so to speak, and fixed it.
I love those Mission Impossible movies. That bugged me. That bugged me a lot. Okay, second question is, do you have a favorite actor/actress from a retro TV show?
Well, and here you go. Now you're going to know the answer to this one. It is Peter Falk. So he is. He was in a movie. Oh, I can't. Shoot. I can give you the line from the movie, but I can't remember the name of the movie right now. That's a hell of an act, General.
Is it The In-Laws?
The In-Laws. Thank you.
Yeah,
it was The In-Laws. He's just, I loved it. He was awesome. And Columbo still sticks with me. I love Columbo, and I love the character that he played. And every time now when, I get an opportunity to wear a suit every Sunday. And so somebody will ask me for something and I'll start doing this. And just for an inside joke, just for me, I know exactly where my pen is, but I'm going to start patting my pockets to find it. So
love it. That's awesome. Yeah, I knew the answer to that question. So was there a particular TV program that brought your whole family together, Scott?
Sadly, it was Lawrence Welk and Hee Haw.
There's nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with a little Lawrence Welk in your life.
Oh, I dreaded having to go in and watch Lawrence Welk. Although I stuck through it, I never went and did anything else. It's not like I had to watch it. You know, my room and other areas of the house were available, but I ended up watching it anyway. And then, but Hee Haw, I loved watching Hee Haw.
Yeah. Well, there were a lot of reasons to like Hee Haw, too. There were a lot of reasons to like Hee Haw. Those honeys were
Barbie Benton.
Yeah, Barbie Benton was an original, or not an original, but a Hee Haw honey. And
she was a Hee Haw honey.
There was a lot of fun things there. Roy Clark and what is it, Buck Evans?
Buck Owens, yeah.
Buck Owens. And just they brought on great musical guests. They had some fun comedy. There was George Lindsay, who reprised his role as Goober on that show from time to time. I'm a fan of Hee Haw as well.
Yeah, Buck Owens is from my mom's hometown of Bakersfield, California. So
nice.
she loved it for that reason. But I still remember, and I've even played for my kids video clips of them doing Gloom, Despair, and Agony on Me because those jokes were so funny. So.
Oh, good. What's your most vivid television memory?
It actually was in the opening to the live stream. It was the Dolphins 1972 Super Bowl win. I was a huge Miami Dolphins fan at the time, and to this day I remember watching that game and being in the face of my foster brother who was a Dallas Cowboys fan, and so that's probably my most vivid memory. It goes back to sports of all things.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, one of my more vivid ones is a sports memory too, college football, but a sports memory as well. There's something about sports, just particularly when it's it's a really great win that's super memorable. Now, you would have been what, 7, 8 at the time? 7?
8, yeah.
8. Okay, all right.
Well, same as you, 7, 8.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember. Are you a little older or a little younger than me?
I've got a couple of months on you.
You got a couple months on me.
March to May.
Yeah.
Or March to July. Sorry. March to July.
Yep. All right. When you're not watching nostalgic television or creating something amazing out of wood, just what the heck do you enjoy doing, Scott?
I am enjoying playing with my grandkids. They are a riot. So
remind me, Emily has 2 now?
Emily has 2, and Jason has 2.5, or 2 2/3.
Oh, I didn't know that they were expecting another. So that's awesome.
So 4 little grandsons and granddaughter on the way.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Thank you so much for answering those questions. I kind of knew that one too. I had a feeling it would be family related.
Oh, great.
All right. So let's do this. Going to take care of some business. We're going to come back. We're going to give away a magazine subscription. Sound like a plan?
Love it.
Kadoke. Let me see if I can cue up the videos. Here we go.
I know. You think you're going to be the one person in the world who can't operate a computer. You think you won't even be able to hook it up and it'll sit on your shelf mocking you. Well, this is how easy it is to get started with the new Atari XL home computer. Once you get the whole system set up, there are over 2,000 things you can do with it. Just plug this into here. Very easy, because there's only one place it goes, and there, you're ready to go.
26 seconds.
I can go again. I can do it much faster. Go again. Let's go again.
Are you going home for the holidays? Imagine a child without a home to go to. I'm Gary Berghoff, and I want you to know that a special needs child is waiting for you. They are school-age kids. Some are minorities, and some are physically different, like me. But no matter what your marital status, age, or economic circumstances, you can put some love in your life. For more information, write the National Adoption Exchange.
Weekdays at 5:30 on WCPX.
As a business grows, its needs grow. A little chat? Especially its need for computing. So IBM, the leader in business solutions, developed the Application System 400.
Let's have a powwow.
It gives you the solutions you need today, and it can grow with you like no other system can. You can upgrade it without having to replace it. Meeting. With the new IBM Application System 400, the money you spend on software, training, and equipment will keep working, no matter how big things get around your plant.
There we go. Took care of all our vintage sponsors. You can keep the lights on. And now it's time to, these guys aren't a sponsor, but what wonderful partners they are. I'm talking about Remind Magazine. And for those folks who haven't seen my latest video on Remind Magazine, here's the cover. It's the June 2022 issue of Remind Magazine, and it is all about the biggest stars from the 70s, where they are now, and it's a really fun issue. I love videos like this here on YouTube, and so this is the perfect complement to it. There's, oodles and oodles of pages on updates on folks like Ted Lang, David Soul, Paul Michael Glazier, Suzanne Summers. Some folks I knew what was up. Other folks I had kind of lost track of. Like Angie Dickinson. So a really fun issue this month, and the entire magazine is phenomenal. And every month they let me do a drawing. And right now there's 16 folks that know that the way we play this game is that you just have to type in the chat #remind. #remind is what will. Now I do. If for any reason you aren't located in the U.S., I'm going to have to reserve the right to send an alternate prize to you because they can only ship to the U.S. So if for any reason the winner is international, we will work something out differently. But I'm hoping that we can tap the good folks over at Remind on the shoulder and say, hey, send out a copy or send out the next 12 issues to so-and-so, someone that's here on the live stream tonight. So I'm going to put the timer on. We're going to give, because if otherwise we just keep going all night waiting for folks to get Remind, #Remind in the chat. So now we're down to 25 seconds, and then I'm going to click that little draw button there, Scott. Scott, did you go ahead and put your #Remind in there?
Oh, am I eligible?
Of course.
All right, I'll put it in. I can get it in the next 10 seconds.
All right. I'd love to see us get to at least 30 people. We have 84 people watching the live stream right now. You'd think we could get at least 30 people into the drawing. Oh, 31. All right. So I'm going to do a quick countdown. Anybody else that's even contemplating typing in #Remind so that they can be eligible for the drawing, do it now, because I'm going to just start slowly. I'm going to start slowly moving my arrow over to that draw button. You see how it's getting darker right there? It's because my arrow, you can't see it, but my arrow is hovering over it. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's see who our winner is tonight. Who's it going to be? Ubi 1953. You are our winner tonight. Here's what you need to do. Ubi 1953. Let me go ahead and put up an email address. Let me find that email address. There it is. Just send me your details. Send me your details. Send me your address, name, and physical address, of course, to that email address right there. And I'll leave that up for the next I don't know, 30 seconds or so you have time to grab a pen and write that down. If for any reason you don't have time, you can always go back and watch the video later on and catch it there. Remember, we're at the 54-minute mark, and you can catch where you need to send me the details so that we can get you subscribed to Remind Magazine for the next 12 months. Congratulations, Ubi1953. Well done. Yeah. All right. So let me go ahead and take that off the screen. There we go. We're back. What happened to our names? Our names, have they not been on all night?
No, they've been up there.
We need our names on there. Hang on a second.
People have forgotten already after an hour.
Yeah. We put it, see if they come back on. Nope, they're not coming on. Maybe it's because of this.
Your email.
It's possible. I'm going to go ahead and take that off. Let's see. Yeah, there they go. Look at that. That's kind of weird.
Oh, well.
Yeah. All right. We're back. And we have names now. All right. So let me look at the outline for tonight's events. We've talked. I've asked you about your favorite things. We've watched commercials. We've given away Remind Magazine. You know what it is? It is time. It's Q&A time. It's time for us to go back and our moderator has been highlighting some questions, some comments, and we'll go ahead and respond to them. So let me go ahead and take a look and see what we got going here. First off, I wanted to, thank my buddy Daryl Johnston for always reminding, and I know that not just Daryl. Daryl's consistent about this, but there are other folks in the chat that have been doing this as well. But thank you for reminding folks to hit the like button. Tracy, again, thank you for the super sticker. You are awesome. Susan Burns says, who just loved Tuttle? Remember the episode? It's a trivia question, so I don't want to talk too much about Tuttle, but I love Tuttle. He was great. Tuttle was
great. He was great.
Phenomenal. Terrell Eugene Bellinger says, didn't Alan Alda become a showrunner of sorts in the later seasons? Do you know the answer to that? I can provide some insight but I'll let you answer first for what you know, Scott.
So help me remember. Showrunners are kind of like the producer, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
They're the person that ultimately has control over the entire show.
Yeah, so he kind of, if I remember correctly, he took on more and more responsibility as the show progressed, doing directing, writing, producing. So yeah, he became much more involved from that. And whether he was an actual, showrunner, I don't know, but yeah, he was very, very heavily involved, which is why you saw it get a little bit more politicized as in some of the later episodes. He was kind of wielding some creative license there with some of his personal beliefs. So.
Yeah. So he wasn't the showrunner, I guess, of sorts. He had definitely in later seasons had more of an impact and influence on the direction of the storytelling. But there was, I feel like if we say that, we basically minimize the creative talents of many other individuals that were involved in the show as well. Alan Alda wasn't the end all and be all of MASH, but he definitely had some influence, particularly as, he was the show probably, we talked about characters being replaced. I don't know if Alan Alda's Hawkeye Pierce character could be replaced for the show to go on. I don't know.
No. I think his character was the glue that kind of held it all together.
So they knew they had to keep him happy, and so they definitely allowed him to become more influential as the series matured. All right, John Collins says, Dave, being a TV historian, I know you have many opinions. However, I'm interested to know whether you appreciate laugh tracks like they did in MASH in the early years. To me, laugh tracks are insulting. So it depends is the answer to that question, John. I do appreciate a laugh track in a show like I Love Lucy, and maybe in a show like Happy Days. But I know that the creative forces, the showrunners of MASH, actually had a preference, and that was to not have a laugh track at all. As a matter of fact, when it played internationally, Specifically, I'm thinking of the UK. There was no laugh track. And I think there's probably would have been some, it would have been interesting to see it play over here in the US without a laugh track, to see how people would have responded. What do you think, Scott?
Yeah, and I know they purposely didn't do the laugh track at all when they were doing surgery scenes. Even if they were cracking jokes, there was no laugh track over that. And so I appreciated it in later on when it became less of a laugh track, and I'm with you. I like it in certain instances, but here I don't believe it was needed.
Right. There are certain shows where we don't need to be told when to laugh. That's why they're insulting, right? But there are other shows like I Love Lucy and it's just silly kind of mind-numbing comedies where you just go, you're not even thinking, right? You watch those shows to not think, to just relax. And I'm okay with having a laugh track on that kind of show. But MASH isn't that kind of show, actually, in my mind. And so I would have probably, if I'd had my druthers, I would have not had a laugh track on that show here in the U.S.
Yep.
All right. Emily Miller says BJ has a great smile. He does. Mike Farrell has a great smile. He's a handsome man, that Mike Farrell, for sure. Terrell Eugene Bellinger says After MASH was a terrible spinoff, in my humble opinion. I don't think you were alone, Terrell. How come no one talks about Trapper John M.D.? We did. We talked about Trapper John. So this was earlier that Terrell said that. But I think it's largely forgotten now. I don't think it was popular when it was on CBS, late 70s, early 80s. But did I say happy birthday to John Collins? I know his birthday's coming up, so I should. Happy birthday, John.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday, buddy. We appreciate all your support, your engagement, your interaction. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I think there's shows that just kind of time isn't always the kindest to, and that's one that you don't see played a lot. And I'm sure it has its fans. It's not one that I'm particularly anxious to go back and watch again. Let's see. Daily Dan blog. Let's see. Can't pull that. No, there we go. Let's try this again. A super sticker. Thank you so much, Danny. Says The Night Stalker. Best ever. Not related to MASH, but I got to agree with you. The Night Stalker was a fantastic television show. And we're not talking about the Fox reboot. We're talking about the original ABC television series, of course, which was before that we had two fantastic movies, The Night Strangler and The Night Stalker. So great stuff. Danny, I'm going to throw you a little video love. I saw in the comments people saying no Welk, please no Welk. So I won't pull out the Lawrence Welk. We're going to do a little Andy Kaufman here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Danny. Appreciate all your support. Let's go back to the comments here. John H. is saying July. I prefer not to give out my specific date just because, all the identities, it's dangerous these days. But yeah, I'm born in July, and it's here in the state of Utah. There's a lot of between July 4th and then we have Pioneer Day later on. There's a lot of celebrating that goes on, and I'm happy that my birthday falls in that month because there's lots of parades and lots of fun things to do and get together with families and have barbecues, and a birthday fits right in there. So thank you for asking, though. It's just the whole identity thievery stuff that's going on. You got to be really careful these days in giving out a date of birth. It's just
July's a good month though, because my wife, my daughter, my mom, all birthdays in July.
Yeah, great month.
And all around the holidays, so a reason to celebrate, right?
Yes. Ali Alias is asking where we are in Utah. We are in Davis County, the two of us. And maybe we don't get any more. I've told folks I live in Kaysville, Utah. I'm not going to tell folks where. You see, Tom's giving away my information. He's telling the year I'm born. Stop it. Stop it. We got to be careful. There are bad people out there. We don't give out birth dates and all that kind of stuff over the interwebs, people. But I live in Kaysville, Utah, part of Davis County.
And I'm a few miles south of you.
Yep.
Also in Davis County.
Yeah. All right. So I think that's it for questions. Didn't see too many other questions. See lots of great conversation going on. That's awesome. So let's go ahead. First off, we've ran a full hour, Scott. Do you have time for 5 trivia questions?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Okay. Let's do that then. Let me pick some. I'm not going to pick. We're just going to go with 5.
You have to do a Tuttle one. You promised.
I did do a promise of Tuttle one, huh? Okay. Let's do, here's the first one. All right, folks. Several episodes are framed as letters that Hawkeye writes to home. To whom is he writing? You have 3 choices. His mother, his girlfriend, or his dad. Let me put the timer on the screen. And we'll give everybody 30 seconds. And while we do that, I will reread the question again so everybody understands. This is question number 1. In several episodes of MASH, they're framed as letters that Hawkeye writes to home. To whom is he writing? His mother, his girlfriend, or his dad? So go ahead and put your answer in the chat, or if you don't want to do that, just kind of lock it in your noggin. And Scott, do you know this one, or should we go out to the chat to see if someone has the answer?
Nope, I got it. I even wrote it down.
Okay, go for it. Yes, his dad is the correct answer. Nicely done. 1 for 1. Okay, next question. I like this one. Question number 2. What does BJ stand for in Honeycutt's name? Your choices are Bobby Joe, Billy John, Bernie James, or nothing. I'm going to put the timer on the screen. What does BJ stand for in BJ Honeycutt's name? Bobby Joe, Billy John, Bernie James, or nothing? Lock your answers in the chat or in your noggin. We will give folks another 10 seconds. Scott thinks he knows.
Oh, I know.
Oh, you know. Okay.
And it's not as simple as you say it is.
Okay. What's the correct answer, Scott?
It just stands for BJ, but he also said it stands for his mother, B. Honeycutt, and his father, J. Honeycutt.
That is absolutely correct. There's nothing. I'm not getting anything by you tonight.
Not on MASH, you're not, no.
All right. We're going to do one more, and then we'll see everybody's score. Let's see. I feel like this is an easy one because I saw a lot of folks chatting about it, but we're going to do it anyway. Question number 3 is, what was Frank Burns' nickname? I'm just going to give you 3 choices. No, I'll give you 4 choices. Weasel, Ratfink, Egghead, or Ferret Face? Put the timer on here.
I've locked in my answer.
Okay. So what was Frank Burns' nickname? Weasel, Ratfink, Egghead, or Ferret Face? We'll give folks another 15 seconds. And then Scott, you can share with us. Folks, feel free to share in the chat. And then we'll get scores right after we get Scott's answer here in just a few seconds. Right, we're gonna have Snoopy pop his head in there. Hey, there we go. Hey, Snoop. There we go. Get rid of that. All right. What's the answer, Scott?
Ferret face.
Ferret face is correct. All right, let's take a look. Let's look at some scores here. Folks, give me scores. I'm looking for scores. Let's see. Superfan Kevin Davis is 3 of 3. Tom McCluskey's got all 3. Rob Aiken's got all 3. Boy, I'm not. These must be easy questions. I'm blowing it. Superfan Mike D, 3 of 3. Steve Tevis, love this dude and his channel, The Life and Sad Ending, 3 of 3. Another guy in Tennessee, 3 of 3. Let's see. Yeah, I'm clearly. Rich Adwood's 3 of 3. Tracy Rothmeyers is playing along, but she's on a bit of a delay, so she's not giving us a score right now. Superfan Superflex is 3 of 3. John Shapanik, interesting last name, isn't it, Scott? John Shapanik.
I wonder if that's the guy that used to work for us at Fidelity.
I don't. Well, that
wasn't his
John
first
Michael.
name,
Mike? Oh, was it really?
John Michael. I think so. It might be.
Yeah, we knew a Mike Shapanik, John. Anyway, 3 of 3. Dave Thomas, 2 of 3. Oh, look at this. I know that girl. 3 of 3 for Emily Barnes.
Well, you knew she'd get it right. She mentioned earlier on in the chat that MASH saved her life. So, literally.
Thanks for playing along with us, Emily. I know this is just a walk in the park for you and your father. Daryl Johnston, 3 of 3. Al Oduwardi, 2 for 3. Tom McCluskey, 3 of 3. Superfan Emily Miller, 3 of 3. John H., 3 of 3. Let's see. Matt Sweeney, 3 of 3. John Stemmer, 3 of 3. Terrell Eugene Bellinger, 3 of 3. Amy B., 3 of 3. Allie Alias, 3 of 3. Custom God, 3 of 3. Superfan Jill Carter, 3 of 3. I think I said that already, but we're saying it again. Al Oduwardi, 2 for 3. Jack Fleming fan, 3 of 3. I think that's what. Yeah, well, like I said, John, we know a Shapanik. So it's an easy one for us to pronounce. Okay, we got 2 more questions before we wrap this thing up tonight. Let's see if you. And how do we pronounce Emily's YouTube name? Do you know how to pronounce that?
Kunohaime.
Okay. Emily Barnes. I know you have another last name, but you're always going to be Emily Barnes to me. You're also Kunohaime. Okay. All right. Let's see. Kunohaime, she says.
Oh,
Kunohaime.
wow. All right. I've been slaughtering it forever then. Sorry,
remember that because it does look like Jaime, not Hime, but yep. I recognize it's another language. So Kunohaime. All right. 2 more questions. How did Trapper leave MASH? Your choices are: he went home to be with his mother, he was discharged, or he was killed by a sniper. Just 3 choices. So again, I'll get the timer up on the screen here. The question is how did Trapper John leave the 407 7th? Your choices are: he went home to be with his mother, his sick mother, I believe was or he was discharged, or he was killed by a sniper. Those are your potential answers. Lock them in the chat or in your noggins. And Scott, how do you feel about this one? Is this one a little trickier for you? Or?
Well, I was going to go with one of them, but when you
I might have deliberately misled.
When you
Don't
made it too
second guess your
specific,
response, because I might have deliberately misled there as I was talking.
Yeah, well,
I feel bad about that because I noticed as I was talking, I said something that was kind of misleading. But I'm going to... You want to give it a shot?
So you said he went home to be with his mom, but he went home to be with his wife and his daughter. But daughters, sorry, he had 2. But I can't remember. You're stumping me here. I don't know if he was discharged or not. So I'm going with discharged.
You are correct. Discharged is the correct answer. Well done. Way to stick with your guns and think it through. 4 of 4. We've got one final question. Oh, I got to find a Tuttle question, don't I?
You got to do Tuttle, yep.
Oh, man. All right. Here we go. Who was Captain Tuttle? Was he a nurse, a CIA agent, an imaginary friend, or a visiting dignitary? Again, your choices are, well, the question is, who was Tuttle, Captain Tuttle? Was he a nurse, a CIA agent, an imaginary friend, or a visiting dignitary? Lock in your answers. We will get final scores from everybody in just a moment. Scott, you feeling comfortable with this one too?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good. I'm impressed with you.
The Tuttle episode was a lot of fun.
It's a great episode, really. I love Tuttle. Tuttle's great. What's the answer, Scott?
He is an imaginary friend who died in a parachute accident because he didn't have one.
That's a fun episode. I can't remember what season that was, but that was a really great episode. Okay, so let's look at final scores here. Let's see. Scott Barnes was 5 of 5. Nicely done. Let's see. John. Oh, wait, I'm jumping ahead. Let me go back here. Gary Carpenter must be a little bit behind us. Is 2 for 3. Mike D. Superfan Mike D's 4 of 5. The Life and Sad Ending 5 of 5. John Stemmer 5 of 5. Superfan Superplex 3 of 5. Dave Thomas 3 of 5. Shapanic 5 of 5. Terrell Eugene Bellinger 4 of 4. Oh, Emily says it was season 1. Thank you. John H says 5 of 5. Terrell Eugene Bellinger 5 of 5. Lance Chaffin asks, who won the magazine? UB19 something or other. Can't remember right at the moment, but we're happy for him or her, and hopefully they'll send me an email with their details. Amy B is 5 of 5. Kunohime, Emily Barnes is 5 of 5. Ali Alias is got 4 of 5. Another guy in Tennessee, 5 of 5. Mr. Ed 209, 5 of 5. Yeah, Tom says no CIA in Korea. Yeah. Jack Fleming fan, 5 of 5. Rob Aiken says that was pretty darn easy peasy, 5 of 5. I could have gone harder, but I you want to kind of hit that sweet spot of not too easy. I didn't ask anybody what MASH stood for. I didn't ask any questions about the main characters. Rich Atwood, 4 of 5. Superfan Jill Carter, 5 of 5. Custom God, 2 of 5. Tom McCluskey, the Hungry Jerk, 5 of 5. Matt Sweeney, 5 of 5. Superfan Kevin Davis, 5 of 5. And yes, the winner of the magazine was UB1953. Super excited for him or her to send me the details. Let's see. Daryl Johnston, 5 of 5. Let's see. Alo Duarte, 5 of 5. Any more scores? I think that's it. Folks are answering the question for you. Mobile Army Surgical Hospital. Yep, that's what MASH stands for. You guys would have got that one right, too. Well done. All right, Scott. Thank you. Oh, hey, here we go. UB stands for Uncle Bob. Uncle Bob 1953 is our winner tonight. Congratulations again, Uncle Bob. Super excited for you. You know what I think I have? I think I have some. Do I have confetti still? Yeah, look at that. We'll throw some confetti down there for Uncle Bob. Well done. Well done, buddy. Don't forget to send me those details. And again, one more thank you to our fantastic executive producer tonight, Tracy Rothmeyers. Thank you so much, Tracy. And I think that's about it. Scott, thank you so much for joining me tonight. Truly, truly appreciate having you with me on the live stream again. It's just like old times.
It's been a lot of fun. We'll have to go out and do a retro music video, talk music and drink some soda. And
I think let's plan on it. When are you in the office? And we'll do one in the office.
June, third week of June.
Text me as we get closer, and
Okay.
let's plan on doing a lunch, and we'll film a wide world of a retro
World of
the
sodas.
return of the wide world of sodas to the channel. That'll be a lot of fun.
All right, sounds like fun. Thanks, and thanks for letting me come on. I appreciate it.
Just great having you here. It's the one thing about being retired is I certainly miss not visiting with great people that I worked with for years and years, and you're right at the top of the list, my friend. So thanks
Thank you
again.
very much.
All right, and thanks to everyone who joined us, Scott and I, to talk about one of, just a beloved television show, MASH. Hopefully everybody enjoyed it, and we do have a post show. I'll stay on the air for the next 15, 20 minutes, play a few videos and let you guys chat and kind of wind down. But have a great weekend, folks. And again, thanks to all for your support. Truly appreciate it. Who is Colonel Samuel Flagg? And what do you need to know about this supposed CIA agent who showed up from time to time at the 407 7th MASH unit? Well, given that of all of the characters who made sporadic appearances on the show, Flagg, along with Dr. Sidney Friedman, is perhaps at the top of the list in terms of fan favorites. So it makes sense that we might want to spend a few minutes talking about the character and the actor who played him. During the mid-70s, MASH was arguably one of the most popular shows on television, and while the regular cast was fantastic, the guest stars were equally as wonderful. Among those occasional characters was Edward Winter, who played Colonel Samuel Flagg, a very neurotic CIA officer, hot on the trail of those who might be communists or communist sympathizers. Flagg was something of a one-trick pony. His stick was always the same, but you know what? At least for me, it was always funny. Now, there is some debate amongst hardcore MASH fans regarding the actual number of times that Flagg showed up on the show. The number is either 6 or 7, depending on whether you believe the appearance of Winter as Captain Halloran during the Season 2 episode Dill Me Out was actually Colonel Flagg undercover. There is a point in a later episode where Flagg refers to a card game that occurred during that episode that would allow you to connect the dots and bump Flagg's episode count up to 7. That said, until I started doing my research for this video, I would have sworn that Flagg had been in more than just 6 or 7 episodes. His character was that memorable, that much fun, and along with the writers who came up with the character, a ton of credit for Flagg's immense popularity has to go to the actor himself. Before taking on the role of Flagg, Winter was best known for his work on the stage. In fact, Winter received 2 Tony Award nominations for his performances in the original Broadway productions of Cabaret and Promises, Promises. From everything that I've heard, Winter was one of the most amiable and professional individuals that you could ever choose to work with. He took each role very seriously and felt blessed to be able to call acting his profession. After MASH, Winter signed on for the 2nd season of Jack Webb's Project UFO, which was an anthology series that aired on NBC. The show was based loosely on actual documented UFO sightings and really had a bit of an X-Files vibe going for it. Yep, imagine a mashup of that show along with Dragnet, and you've got a fairly good idea of what this show was all about. After Project UFO ended, Winter returned to play Colonel Flagg one last time on the MASH spin-off After MASH. I must admit that I haven't seen this particular episode. One of these days I'll have to track it down. Throughout the 80s and 90s, Edward found steady work, mostly making guest appearances on TV shows, as well as showing up in both television and theatrical movies. While I remember his appearance as Clark Gable in the Scarlett O'Hara War, yep, that's right, Colonel Flagg played Clark Gable. It was his appearances in a couple of director Bob Clark's movies that stand out to me for some strange reason. Neither of them were huge roles, but in each case I remember thinking, hey, there's Colonel Flagg. Of course, Bob Clark's greatest achievement had nothing to do with either of these movies. It is this movie, for oh so many reasons. Bob Clark's fine body of work, as well as his tragic passing, is a topic that one of these days I'll have to make a video about. But not today, because today is all about this man. A master of disguise, an enigma, a man of mystery. Some people might even have referred to him as the Wind. Flagg once said this about the ingenious way that his mind worked. Nobody can get the truth out of me because even I don't know what it is. I keep myself in a constant state of utter confusion. Whatever he was, whoever he was, Flagg, as played by Edward Winter, was a complete joy to watch. I found a discussion thread where fans debated whether or not Flagg should have made a few more appearances over the final seasons of the show, and there were a couple of comments that really stood out for me. A feller named Doug said, "Add my vote to the idea that Flagg was used just enough," and his final episode, Rally Round the Flagg Boys, was very fitting and well done, complete with Charles giving him his comeuppance. And Hawkeye's line, "They'll take your decoder ring for this," it was perfect. Conversely, another fan named Craig said this, "But one more appearance in the final season would have been great. They knew the series was wrapping up, so some quips from Hawkeye about what Flagg will do with his spare time when the war's over could have opened things up. I could imagine Edward Winters squinting at Hawkeye saying something about there still being important work to do at home." Personally, I'm with Craig. One more episode with Flagg, somewhere during that final season, well, it would have been perfect. One little interesting bit of trivia, actor J. Kenneth Campbell showed up on another favorite TV show of mine a couple of times, Matlock, playing a character who was, in many ways, an updated version of Flagg. And even more interesting was the name of the character, FBI agent Ed Wingate. Not all that different from Ed Winter. I truly have to believe that the Matlock folks were doing their best to subtly tip their hats with a wink and a nod to one of the all-time great characters on television. Another master of deception and disguise. Yep, good old Colonel Flagg. Sadly, Edward Winter is no longer with us. He passed away at the way too early age of 63 after a brave battle with Parkinson's disease. His body was cremated, and his ashes were very appropriately scattered at sea, carried away by the wind. So that's it. What do you think? Did you enjoy Colonel Flagg on MASH? And do you think the handful of appearances that he made on that show were enough? Let me know in the comments section, and while you're at it, I'd love a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. And I would be absolutely honored if you would consider subscribing to my channel. I talk about music, movies, and television mostly from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, the good stuff. But most importantly, and as always, thank you so much for watching.
Hey folks, if you're enjoying this live stream, be like the Fonz and give it a thumbs up. Hey.
We're seeing eye to eye with you today in every way. The way we live, the way we love, the way we laugh and play. We've got the touch, America. We're coming on with all the best. We've got the touch, America. UNCBS. You're tuned to us, we're tuned to you. It starts to touch you through and through. Touch of laughter, a touch of tears, with friends you've loved for years. We've got the touch, America, and we're coming on with all the best. We've got the touch, America, UNCBS. We've got the touch, America, and we're coming on with all the best. We've got the touch, CBS. New shows are coming to touch you through and through.
If you are a fan of the MASH TV series, then this should be a familiar face to you. For the first 3 seasons of that TV show, actor McLean Stevenson played Lieutenant Colonel Henry Blake, a role that brought with it fame and fortune for the actor who had known that he was destined to be in the entertainment industry since he was just a young lad. And although McLean was part of one of the funniest ensemble casts on TV, he managed to stand out, so much so that he won a Golden Globe Award for his work in 1974. During the mid-70s, MASH was arguably one of the most popular shows on television. Like I said, the cast was great, but it was more than just that. The creative team led by Larry Gelbart was top-notch, and the scripts that the actors were being given allowed them to shine, regardless of whether the role in that week's episode was a big one or a small one. Still, after a while, the intoxication of being on a hit TV program started to wear off for Stevenson, who became frustrated that if an episode needed to be trimmed for time, it was usually his stuff because his stories were often in the periphery, while the crux of many of the episodes focused on Hawkeye and Trapper John. McLean also became more than just a little upset about the working conditions that he and his castmates were dealing with on set. For whatever reason, at times it felt like, at least to him, that 20th Century Fox were cutting corners with the show's production budget when they didn't need to. So enter NBC. At the time, the network was a perennial third-place finisher, and they were hungry for talent. When they caught word that McLean Stevenson might be willing to leave MASH for greener pastures, the courtship began. McLean was told that when Johnny Carson chose to retire, he would be in the running for that Tonight Show spot. And in the meantime, he could have his very own show, a show where he would be the absolute focus. And well, wouldn't you know it, all that stuff sounded pretty darn good to McLean. So he told the folks at MASH that he wanted out. In retrospect, it's easy to say that it was a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad decision. But at the time, it looked like a risk well worth taking. And so, at the end of the 3rd season, Lieutenant Colonel Henry Blake headed home. Of course, we all know that Stevenson's character didn't make it home. The plane was shot down somewhere over the Sea of Japan. And when the writers added that last-minute addition to the script, well, they cemented the fact with absolute certainty that McLean Stevenson would never again return to the MASH set. At first, things seemed to be going swimmingly for McLean. In fact, whether appearing as a guest or subbing for Johnny, Stevenson always seemed to be at home on the Tonight Show set. Of course, who knew that Carson was nowhere near being ready to retire? It would be well over a decade before Johnny announced plans to leave late night. And during that time, McLean Stevenson had a string of failed television shows. The first one, The McLean Stevenson Show, was definitely the worst of the bunch. I only vaguely recall this one when it originally aired on primetime, but thanks to the wonderful all-knowing media tool that is YouTube, one can see for him or herself what a mess this thing was. Now, Hello Larry was another story, at least for me. It was a spin-off of Different Strokes, and truthfully, I kind of liked it. I actually thought the cast, including Kim Richards, was pretty good, and I felt like this show, if it had been given more time and trusted more by the network, well, it could have been a hit. But it wasn't. And at some point, yeah, we can all see this one coming. All of the Monday morning quarterbacks started weighing in on Stevenson's choice to leave MASH. One critic quipped that McLean Stevenson was routinely the annual winner of the I'm Gonna Quit This Show and Become a Big Star award, while other critics were even less kind by saying things like, he's blown it in Hollywood and now he's worn out his welcome for good. Talk about piling on. But you know, sadly it's human nature to just keep kicking when someone's down. The reality is that none of the cast members that left MASH ever found another show that had the same level of success. Wayne Rogers? Nope. Larry Linville? And Gary Berghoff? No way, Jose. Those roles and the show itself was so iconic that it just became impossible for the actors to step away from the characters that had made them household names. So end of the day, was it really a horrible decision on McLean's part? I would argue that it wasn't. Why? Well, because he wasn't happy. And to quote the Dalai Lama, the very purpose of our lives is to be happy. If we're not, we need to make a change, and that's exactly what McLean Stevenson did. And even though he never had a hit TV show again, and he wasn't even in the running for The Tonight Show when Carson finally did retire, truthfully, McLean always did find work. And while he was the first to admit that the work he found didn't have the same high level of care, craftsmanship, and creativity that he had experienced while working on MASH, still he found joy in many of the things that he did later on. And that, my friends, is why McLean Stevenson made the right decision. Maybe at the wrong time. Perhaps he should have stuck around for a season or two more. But nonetheless, it was the right decision for him. One little interesting bit of trivia: when McLean Stevenson passed away in 1996, it was just one day before actor Roger Bowen died from a similar heart attack. Who is Roger Bowen? Well, he's the actor who portrayed Lieutenant Colonel Henry Blake in the 1970 movie version of MASH. So that's it. What do you think? Did McLean make the right decision? Or was it, as many say, a truly terrible, horrible, no good, very bad decision? Let me know in the comments section, and while you're at it, I'd love a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, and I would be absolutely honored if you would consider subscribing to my channel. I talk about music, movies, and television, mostly from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, the good stuff. But most importantly, and as always, thank you so much for watching.
Listen, I want to tell you who we got this week. We've got Brett Summers, Charles Nelson Riley, Fannie Flagg, and
Bob Braverman.
And my gorgeous friend, Ava Gabor.
And the very handsome William Daly.
And we'll all be here on Match Game. Tune in, yeah.
I'm not sure about that.
Trapper John. Yep, I know there were 3 different actors who played the character, either in the Robert Altman motion picture or on 2 very different TV shows. But today, for this video, I'm focusing on this guy, Wayne Rogers, and in a minute or two, I'll talk about why he chose to walk away from MASH when it was just about the biggest show on TV. No doubt about it. By the mid-70s, MASH was one of the most popular shows on television. In fact, I'll go out on a limb and say it was beloved. There were so many things that this show had going for it. First and foremost, Wayne Rogers, Alan Alda, and the rest of the cast, well, they were great. But it was more than just that. The creative team, led by Larry Gelbart, were top-notch as well. And because of all of those wonderful ingredients that went into the making of this wonderful TV show, it became one of the most successful comedy series in the history of American television. And Wayne Rogers had a big part in that success early on. But then McLean Stevenson decided to leave the show after the end of the 3rd season. I remember his final episode well, and if you're a fan of MASH, you know why this episode is so memorable. And without doubt, the viewers knew that the character was departing from the show, but Trapper John, well, he just kind of disappeared. Of course, Wayne went on to have a great career. He starred with Lynn Redgrave in another successful CBS comedy called House Calls, and like MASH, it was based on a movie as well. I also fondly remember his appearance on the TV movie I Dream of Jeannie 15 years later, where he replaced Larry Hagman as Jeannie's master, astronaut Tony Nilsson. But as time went on, Wayne seemed less and less interested in his acting career and instead focused on his keen skills in the world of finance. For years he had his own investment company, and he could also be found on Fox Business News for a time with his own show, but for an even longer period as a noted expert and guest. So with all that said, we know that leaving MASH, well, it wasn't a mistake for Wayne. He followed his heart, and it paid off handsomely. But why did Wayne abruptly leave MASH after season 3? And I say abruptly because there was no farewell episode, nothing to indicate that the producers had any clue that he was going to leave. Wayne was able to do that, by the way, because he'd never signed any sort of contract when he was initially cast for the show. The producers had given him one to sign, but he had expressed reservations about some of the language in the contract, and believe it or not, no one ever followed up, which then allowed him to make a decision that no one saw coming, to leave the show along with McLean Stevenson at the end of season 3. Why did he do it? Well, truth be told, Wayne felt like he'd signed on to MASH to be a co-star along with Alan Alda, and as Hawkeye's popularity on the show seemed to grow with each passing episode, it felt like Trapper John was turning into more of a sidekick. Yep, the stories week after week seemed to focus on Hawkeye instead of Trapper John. And while Wayne loved working with Alan, and there were no hard feelings, there never were, he knew that if he stuck around, the dissatisfaction that he was feeling was going to continue to grow and fester, and it was a feeling that he did not like. He wanted to be happy and at peace with the work that he was doing on screen, and for those reasons, he knew that he had to leave the show. So Wayne left us with 3 amazing seasons of MASH, that is. I have a ton of wonderful memories, and I've made a few more videos about MASH, so I'll post a couple of them right here for you to watch if you'd like. I'd also love for you to share your memories of Wayne Rogers and MASH in the comments section. And while you're at it, why not give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it? And I would be honored if you would consider subscribing to my channel. I talk about music, movies, and television, mostly from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, the good stuff. But most importantly, and as always, thank you so much for watching.